What the fuck is Hegseth doing? I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that we don't have a military anymore. Hegseth canned all the top brass at the Pentagon. It doesn't seem like anyone's really second guessing him. And he's like restructuring everything, but he doesn't know anything. So what is he restructuring? Hegseth's trying to turn the US Army into the Imperial Japanese Army where Bushido spirit comes first instead of logistics. Let him cook. Major restructuring of the Army was on the table, including the mergers of Army Futures Command and Training and Doctrine Command into a new organization. Why? Other moves of note include orders to reduce and restructure manned attack helicopter formations and augment with inexpensive drone swarms capable of overwhelming adversaries, and divest outdated formations including select Army and aviation units across the total Army. Which armor and aviation units? We've seen in wars going on around the world, the equipment just can't provide what it was originally supposed to go to soldiers, yet it keeps showing up year after year after year. All these parochial interests and all these lobbyists that crawl around this building or crawl around Congress, they have succeeded for far too long. And so the first thing is we're going to start to cut the things we don't want or need. Keep in mind that Trump is pushing for a significant increase to the Pentagon budget. So any talk about cutting lobbyist influence or whatever, total bullshit. It's not downsizing either. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Cut to aviation and ground vehicles. Stop producing the brand new light tank, the M10 Booker. Classic example of a sunk cost fallacy. Let me Google really quickly. M10 Booker. Does it look cool? Looks like a tank to me. Light tank? I like that it's got like a bunch of little binoculars pointing out. I think that's cool. I like that it's boxy. You know, it's got like, it's very like angular. I like that. I think it's cool. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's tiny compared to the A. But yeah, you can see like proportions wise how small it is. Those are smoke grenade launchers. Makes sense, right? I mean, it's a light tank, so it's not... Yeah, I think it's neat. Yeah, look how cute it is. It's like almost the size of an F-250. Boom. That looks loud. Small on the outside, nightmarishly cramped on the inside. Well, how big's the tank crew? If it's like 5 people in there, yeah. But if it's like a 3-man crew, maybe it could be a little less uncomfortable. It's a 4-man crew? 4 seems a little cramped. Does it say here? Main armament, I don't see it. Oh, well, whatever. It's not that important. Navash, armor's always cramped inside. Yes, armor's always cramped inside. However, there are degrees of difference because I've seen the inside of different American and Soviet tanks, and there are definitely differences in how cramped they are in the inside. 4-man crew seems a bit cramped, but you know, whatever. Beep, beep. Yeah, I think it's cute. Does this whole chat have tank autism? Listen, this is a rare community where any tank autism that you see, you know for a fact it's not like weird Wehrmacht, like World War II Panzer tank fetishism, you know? It's not a bunch of people who claim to be like really in on military logistics, inexplicably defending an overly designed, overbuilt, over-engineered, too heavy vehicle that broke down all the time in operations. Wonder why people do. I wonder why. Wonder why people are always glazing the German armor when it was like empirically inefficient and they were over-engineered. And I was just very curious, you know, compared to like the Sherman, which was like way more modular and easy to fix on the fly. Also, there were more Allied tanks than German tanks. Yeah, because our tanks didn't suck. Our tanks weren't giant over-engineered messes that Hitler personally interfered with the creation of. Hitler over there in the corner being like, make it bigger. Make it bigger! Make it bigger! Because he was obsessed with that shit. And then he made something that broke down the field all the time because it was so heavy. Literally did a Musk. The fascist obsession with fake futurism of overbuilding things for the purpose of coming across as intimidating and oppressive while having no respect for the underlying engineering, that goes back a long time. There's a reason the Cybertruck looks the way it does, but is a really like shitty truck on the inside. The Oliphant German tank destroyer would catch on fire attempting to go up 6-degree inclines. To be fair, that's some of you guys too. When was the last time you hopped on a treadmill, fatty? Also on the chopping block, the obsolete Grey Eagle drone. Getting rid of the older Apaches. Not yet clear if the service will opt to replace them with the newer. Okay. Don't helicopters suck? I don't know. Helicopters, it's the obsession with developing like something that can take flight from a standing position, right? Because the, what are they called? The Ospreys? Those are also like really dangerous and expensive. So the Ospreys, am I thinking of Harrier jets? What am I thinking of? You know what I'm talking about. They've had a bunch of like controversies because they like killed people. Osprey? Okay, Ospreys, yeah. Helicopters are pretty dangerous. Killed Kobe Bryant, famously. You know the rat tank? Yeah, I know the rat tank. What those future cuts look like aren't clear, but Army leaders have been indicating for months the service's ground vehicle portfolio is facing even deeper cuts. So where is the Pentagon budget meant to go? If Trump wants to raise the Pentagon budget, where the fuck is that money going to go? What's weird is, again, like fascists, and these are all fascists, love super projects. But in this case, like, what? I think one of the big problems is that fascists generally love spending money, but this administration is austerity focused, right? They're obsessed with it. Like, they love looking like the guys who are cutting the budget, even as they increase the budget, which they are. So if their propaganda is built around the idea that they're not spending money, what's their super project going to be? There's no way to square that circle, right? Like, how do you invest hundreds of billions of excess Pentagon funding into a Pentagon that's had programs cut? Like, where does the money go? And you can say, oh, contractors, sure, but for what project? Like, the money doesn't just like go nowhere, right? Like it goes into these contracts. So a contract for what? Like, are all of the like maintenance contracts just going to jump up 10 times in value inexplicably and that's it? Just like be very blatant with it? Or is there going to be like something? Don't you think it's a little Trumpian? Don't you think he wants to make a gold tank? I don't know. Like, what's the project going to be? Could be for martial law. I don't really think so. The US military already has the equipment for martial law, right? Like the problem with martial law or with occupying a territory isn't really the equipment that you have. It's more the social dynamic. It's almost impossible to occupy an area that is bristling with insurgents. I don't really think that's like an equipment thing, you know? You can have like scanners that'll show you heat maps of every body in a building through 3 walls. And I mean, that's pretty cool technology, but it won't tell you which one of them's an insurgent and which isn't, right? I mean, not past a point if they're holding a gun maybe, but you get my point. It's a social problem. Like, I mean, we failed to meaningfully control Iraq and Afghanistan. From Iraq, ISIS formed. In Afghanistan, the Taliban took over like the moment we left. And the difference in technology between us and the people we were occupying there was enormous. Like, we were literally using M1 Abrams tanks to hold villages where people carried water back from wells in buckets that they hung from the satchels of goats. And we still had trouble there. At the end of the day, just occupation is just a losing game if the people don't like you. It just doesn't work. It seems like the only reason it worked in a place like Germany was because we defeated them so thoroughly, right? Like eradicated their government military. And the only reason it worked in Japan was because we kind of had like the compliance of their emperor and government, right? Like there was like a national recognition of laws. If it wasn't for that, Jesus Christ, can you imagine how difficult occupying Japan would have been after World War II? Like if the emperor never surrendered or whatever, and like you would like suicide bomb, like kamikaze civilians running at your dudes like every day, like Jesus. Yeah, it would have been impossible. There's no way. Just, yeah. So anyway, when it comes to the Pentagon budget reallocations or whatever it is they're doing, I don't think it's about developing the equipment to occupy America, like militarily. I just don't think so. Maybe that's like a consideration for them, but I don't really think that's like the motivation. We're still using Purple Hearts printed from World War II and planning to invade mainland Japan. That's genuinely crazy. Is that true? Like, we expected so many of our soldiers to be wounded invading Japan that we're still like, yeah, we got like 1,000 years worth of Purple. Yep, okay. That is crazy. And Vietnam didn't deplete them? We actually ran out this year of Purple Heart. Okay, we finally... Okay. Jeez, that's a interesting factoid. Glad we didn't have to do that. Don't know if we necessarily had to drop the bombs, but I'm glad we didn't have to do a ground invasion. That would have been a lot worse. Here we go. New areas of investment. Service is realigning to optimize deterrence and rapid deployment. American homeland, deter China in the Indo-Pacific. Increase Army forward presence in the Indo-Pacific by expanding pre-positioned stocks, rotational deployments, and exercise with allies and partners to enhance strategic access. Oh, that's going wonderfully. Yeah. Our Indo-Pacific allies are probably just jumping at the opportunity to do training drills with us now. A few additional focus areas and programs, including a future precision strike missile variant with a seeker to hit moving targets on land and sea ready by 2027, electromagnetic and air littoral dominance by 2027, fielding new launched efforts, improve counter-UAS mobility and affordability, extending advanced manufacturing, including 3D printing, to operational units by 2026, enable AI-driven command and control at theater, corps, and division headquarters by 2027. Me when I'm drafted in the war against China in 2027. We're taking fire! Where's it coming from? First of all, how intelligent you are to notice that you're taking fire. Most soldiers in your position would just scream and run for cover, but you had the prescience not only to acknowledge it, but also to ask for help in specifics. Kudos to you. Piece of shit. We're all gonna die. All right, well. I don't have any strong opinions on this necessarily because it's kind of difficult to know where our military money should be spent when A, we have too much of it, and B, like, what are our goals? We've pretty much conclusively determined through Vietnam, Afghanistan from the Soviets, then Afghanistan from us, and Iraq, that occupation doesn't really work, right? Also, that's kind of a lesson with Israel and with Hamas, which obviously Israel just wants to kill Palestinians, but even if they didn't, one of the underlying lessons here is that, like, as long as there is injustice, insurgency will be almost impossible to manage without eradicating the population, and we have no interest in getting rid of the injustice. So the insurgency is a given. So it seems like the occupational strategy doesn't really work. And yeah, well, if World War III ever breaks out, we just nuke. It's Russia and China. Like, China's the main threat right now, according to the government, and China has nukes. So I don't understand what the game plan is here. My understanding was that for the past few decades, the idea was to make the military... So based on the equipment that the military was developing, the idea was to make the military more capable of doing the sort of thing that we do today rather than declaring war, which is military operations, right? The new Abrams, right? It's got an electric engine. It can run quiet, at least quiet relative to a tank. The goal is to make people faster, quieter, stealthier, you know, do quick operations. We've been gearing our military production more towards facilitating, like, assassinations, right? Counterterrorism, anti-insurgency stuff, not so much long-term occupation. Because if it comes down to it, with like a big global war, not only do we win in terms of like raw strength, but there's also the nuke question. So I just don't understand like what we're developing this for, right? I don't understand what the I guess like the doctrine is, you know? Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I'm not like an expert on military logistics or procurement or anything. I'm not pretending to be. I just don't know what we're trying to... The expectation of peer-to-peer non-nuclear conflicts is why. Yeah, but that's insane. No one's going to risk a peer-to-peer non-nuclear confrontation. That's who? What peer? What non-nuclear peer is there to the United States? China's the only country that comes even remotely close, and they're nuclear, as are we. Canada War? Yeah, I guess. I don't really know if they're a peer militarily. Extensive breakdown of where the new money's being spent. This is an hour-long video. Is there like a summary? Hold on. Why this matters? What am I talking about? Opening words. Navy and shipbuilding, munitions, air superiority. What isn't here? Risks and quiet. Is there like a... Okay, comment section. It's all on you. Okay, that didn't help. Maybe I'll watch it myself later. 150 billion of kickbacks. They're all kickbacks. We met Northern Lion, the yard. What the hell? He has legs? One of these days I'm going to find out what Northern Lion's cam setup is. I don't understand how he looks at the camera, like facing it straight on, but also at the computer screen. Does he just have his monitors like really low? Like he has to look down at him and he just keeps his head in the same place? That's crazy. All right, well, anyway, I'll keep this in mind. Trade secret. I'll DM him. I don't care, man. I'm a little bit tired of like, my ergonomics are not great as they are because I have my camera like above. I don't know. Northern Lion has his camera behind his monitor and turns the transparency up. That's good tech.